We're fearlessly talking about the biggest stories that matter to you the most. Breaking news, John Calipari is finalizing a 5-year deal to become the Arkansas Razorbacks' next head coach, covering college sports like no one else. The biggest guests in sports. We now welcome in Hall of Famer Jim Calhoun.
Such a pride I had, I came to Connecticut.
The legend, Tim Tebow, joins us.
We'll run it back. I like it.
The legend, Herschel Walker. Welcome in, everybody. Tuesday night edition, Aaron Torres Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Torres. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope everybody's having a great day. Hope everybody's not a Kansas fan, because I am live here at the Marriott Center, BYU, Kansas, the big game of the evening. And I am here to say it got out of hand quick. Pray for all your friends that are Chiefs and Jayhawks fans. I don't know why I still have my headphones in here, but pray for your friends that are Chiefs and Jayhawks fans, because this was a bloodbath. Final score in this one, a lot to a little, and we're going to break this one down basically from every angle. BYU gets the win. What is their – I don't think they're on the bubble anymore. I just think they're a team that can do damage in March. I'll tell you this, on top of it, being around this program, I think they are really built for the long haul and built to win big in the Big 12 going forward. From there, we will talk about the Kansas side of things. Is this program dead under Bill Self? Because they sure look dead tonight. And then from there, we will talk about the rest of the week. That epic Rick Pitino rant we saw on Vice. And oh, by the way, I'll wrap with some thoughts on Provo. Spent the last two and a half days here. And listen, I think there's a lot of connotations, negative stuff about this city, and it is a beautiful city. It's just a fun place to be, and I was so privileged to be here over the last couple days. Before we get started, if you are not subscribed to the Aaron Torres Pod YouTube channel, new clips, new videos going up every single day, make sure that you're subscribed. Do your boy Torres a solid. Also, make sure to be subscribed also on Apple and Spotify as well. We really do appreciate your support. By the way, did mention this. We hit 50K subscribers over the weekend on YouTube. I cannot thank everybody enough for your support. We're going to figure out a giveaway or whatever to take care of you guys, because I cannot thank you all enough for your support. Speaking of support, we got to thank our friends. We got to thank our partners. We got to thank Collie Puffs and ColliePuffs.com. Okay, I got the BYU band here in the background, but it doesn't matter, because guess what? It's a new year. First of all, we told you about Collie Puffs for months now, okay? This is the new age health food snack that you need in your pantry, that you can find in your grocery aisle. But the bottom line is, it's 2025, new year, new you. You're trying to eat better. You're trying to be healthier. You're trying to be more responsible. By the way, if you're a Kansas fan, maybe you just need a cleanse. Well, guess what, people? That is where Collie Puffs and ColliePuffs.com comes in. Family-owned company, not far from where I live. Joey, a huge sports fan, and he was sitting on the couch one day. He basically said to himself, he said, I need something that is healthy for me, but also healthy for my young children, and that is where Collie Puffs comes in. Baked, not fried, avocado oil, no grease, healthy ingredients, but the best part is, people, they taste freaking delicious, okay? At this point, you don't need to take my word for it. Try it out for yourself. Just visit ColliePuffs.com. That's CAULIPUFFS.com, ColliePuffs.com. Also, you can get them on Amazon.com. Just search Amazon.com. Go on there. Search Collie Puffs. By the way, I already know you got stuff in your cart there, so just throw some Collie Puffs in your cart as well. But thank you to Collie Puffs for their support. We appreciate you. We appreciate your support of the Aaron Torres Pod. By the way, for everybody watching on Twitter, on X, get over to the YouTube channel. Click subscribe, click rate, click review, all that good stuff. With that said, it is a busy Tuesday night. There is no more time to waste. So let's get to the topic of the day. And the topic of the day, I'll tell you this. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, okay? So listen, I've told the story a million times, but over the summer, as I was watching BYU put this roster together, kind of this felt like something new, something fresh, something special. Kevin Young comes in as the head coach. They have the NIL support from Ryan Smith, the Utah Jazz and Utah Hockey Club owner. They're building a really special team. I said, I got to get out to Provo to see it all in person, okay? Well, I picked the Kansas game because I figured it would be the game of the year. I figured it'd be a great game, best crowd of the year. The crowd certainly lived up to expectations. Unfortunately, Kansas did not, because we got a bloodbath for the ages, people. Final score in this one, I'm trying to pull it up here. Final score 91-57 is the final score. 91-57. Not great at math, but that's a 34-point win for the BYU Cougars, okay? And so when it comes to this game, first of all, I think the thing that stands out, being around town, being around both these teams over the course of the last couple of days, I wasn't really around Kansas, but you're talking to people that know that team. And this was a big game for both teams, okay? Because, listen, for BYU's kind of on the bubble. I think they're on the right side right now. They're playing really well. But listen, the out-of-conference schedule wasn't great. We'll talk about that in a minute. They struggled out of the gate in the Big 12. And so they've been playing well of late, but kind of needed that signature win to tell the committee, hey, we're here. We're for real. We ain't messing around. They have some good wins, but what's that great win on the resume? And then for Kansas, listen, we talked about them on Sunday's Aaron Torres pod, a team that basically, you look at them, they came into this game, 17-8 overall? Is that right? They were 8-6 in the Big 12. They just lost on the road at Utah. Again, talking to people that know Bill Self, frankly, they were saying he was on as much edge as pretty much he's ever been at any point in his career, the people that know him, that have been around him. And so you thought it was going to be a back and forth game. Instead, it was just a destruction for the ages. Again, the final score in this one, 91-57, okay? Some quick thoughts on this game. First of all, in terms of the game itself, the first thing that stands out, one, BYU immediately jumps out to an 8-0 lead, okay? And you sit there and say, okay, home crowd, it's awesome, it's this, it's that, it's whatever. It gets to as much as 22-7, and then Kansas actually goes on a 10-3 run to cut the lead to 25-17. You're like, okay, Kansas, they took the first blow. They're going to be fine. They're going to be okay. Instead, the opposite happened. Basically, Kansas did not stop BYU the rest of the way. It was 46-26 at halftime. And you know what it actually reminded me of? Kansas fans, cover your ears, because I know a lot of you Kansas fans are also I know a lot of you Kansas fans are also Kansas City Chiefs fans. You know what it kind of reminded me of? Kind of reminded me of the Super Bowl. Kind of reminded me of the fact that, listen, when the Kansas City Chiefs fell down, whatever it was, 17-0, we were all at the same Super Bowl party. Everybody say, oh, it's the Chiefs. They'll make their run. They'll come back. And I was sitting there saying, they're going to get destroyed. They are not in the same stratosphere as the Philadelphia Eagles. And that was how it felt for BYU. Just felt like they could do whatever they want, whenever they wanted. Now, credit Kevin Young and his staff, Again, don't want to give away too many secrets, but being around them, you could tell the intensity at practice on Monday, how much this game meant to them. But listen, they did whatever they wanted all game long. They basically made Kansas quit. They basically made Bill Self quit, because out of the halftime, it was 46-26. BYU immediately goes on like a 9-2 run to open the second half. Bill Self calls a timeout. Nothing changes. It basically, from then on out, Bill Self basically waved the right flag. He's like, get me out of this state of Utah, where I lost to Utah the other night, and where I am now, where I have now lost to the BYU Cougars as well. And so when I look at this game, when I look at this whole situation, first of all, let's just go ahead and give credit to BYU, okay? Because I think sometimes, we want everybody to be a finished product, day one, minute one, hour one. And I think it's taken some time with this team, okay? I think when you look at this team at BYU, again, I'm not making excuses. I'm not this. I'm not that. I'm just stating a fact, okay? And the fact is that when you looked at this BYU team, it is worth noting a few things. It is worth noting that this was a team, first-year head coach, Kevin Young, coming from the pros, trying to figure things out. And it took some time. And the thing was, it was kind of a gift and the curse of the out-of-conference. They really didn't play a very challenging out-of-conference schedule. They played in the San Diego tournament. What is the Children's Invitational or something like that? They played in that Children's Invitational tournament. And in doing so, they went 1-1. They lose to Providence. But they came out of the out-of-conference, and I don't know that they really felt like they knew who their team was or how good they were. And so you go into league play out. Watching on Twitter, go ahead and find the YouTube channel. Do me that quick favor. Go to youtube.com/Aaron Torres. You can find this show there live. But I'll tell you, you look at at BYU, they didn't really know who they were coming out of conference play. Then they start Big 12 play, and they start really slow, 1-4 overall. But I think what really stood out to me is I have smoke coming out of the build, coming not like bad smoke, just like smoke, coming out of this. As a matter of fact, hold on one quick second. Here. Stay with me, people. Stay with me. All right, producer Matt, you're gonna have to do some clever editing in this clip, but we'll get back to it in a minute. But so back to what I was saying, because it was really on point here, is that they came out of conference play, and I don't think they really knew who they were through no fault of their own. It was just a first-year head coach, not familiar with scheduling, didn't really get tested, and then they struggled out of the gate to open Big 12 play. Now, it doesn't help. You play Arizona at home, you immediately go to Houston. Not many people are winning at Houston, but then you lose your 3 of your next 4, but you lose to Texas Tech, who we now know is good by 5. You lose to TCU by 4 on the road, and you lose to Utah by 1 on the road as well. And so I just bring it up because what became very obvious to me is at the midway point, this isn't something anybody told me, it's just watching this team, is that Kevin Young kind of realized, like, look, first-year head coach, I'm learning as I go. I got to ride with my veterans. And that was the thing that really stood out tonight. Listen, Yegor Demon is going to be a lottery pick for BYU, okay? But at the same time, you watch this team, best player on the team right now, and this is no disrespect to Yegor Demon or anybody. It's Richie Saunders. He's unbelievable. 22 points tonight for the BYU Cougars. Listen, some of the other young guys, Cannon Catchings, he's coming along. But I think the difference for this team, and I tweeted it actually during the Arizona game, Mawit Mag was a transfer from Rutgers. And he's a kid, and I told the staff this on Tuesday or Monday when I was at practice. I remember watching him. He played high school basketball with Jalen Green, who now plays for the Houston Rockets, and also he played high school basketball with Coleman Hawkins. So he played on a really good team. Namari Burnett was on that team, who's still in college at Michigan. And he was like a role player in high school, okay? And so he's come to BYU. He didn't play much early, but he's kind of that glue guy, defender, wing guy, shuts everybody down, et cetera, et cetera. And so what's been so obvious to me is that as this season has gone on, Kevin Young has relied on the older veteran players, and it is paying dividends for this team now because they just get better and better and better as games go on. And so listen, this game doesn't single-handedly put you into the NCAA tournament. I'll tell you what, though, it's pretty freaking close. With this win, BYU is now 18-8 overall in the Big 12. And really, I think a pretty manageable schedule, all things considered, going forward. Now, it doesn't get easier Saturday. They go to Arizona. As somebody who's also been to McHale Center, that is another great venue in college basketball. BYU played Arizona tough when they were here at the Marriott Center just a few weeks ago. But you play Arizona, then you get Arizona State. Arizona State, I think, is kind of quit on the season. West Virginia, who you just beat, at Iowa State, Utah. That feels like a 3-2 finish to me. I don't know if you could steal one of those 2 on the road. And I think if you're sitting there right now at 18-8 and you finish 3-2, that's 21-10 going into the Big 12 tournament. That's an NCAA tournament team right there. And then it's what can you do at the Big 12 tournament to improve your seeding. So for BYU, I just think you got to sit there and say, listen, don't overreact, don't whatever. But at the same time, if you just do what you're supposed to do against the teams that you are capable of doing it against, there is no reason why you should not be able to get to the NCAA tournament. And I think once they get to the NCAA tournament, they could do damage there. So incredible win for BYU. I'll tell you what, we're going to do Kansas in just a minute. I do want to make one more kind of commentary on BYU. And let me say this, because I know it's going to sound like hyperbole and I'm caught up in the moment. They just beat Kansas by 30, whatever, blah, 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 blah. By the way, The Optimist is saying the BYU game day environment is as good as anybody in college basketball. I agree, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But, I want to say this about BYU, okay? And I said this over the summer, and I got pushback, and I'm going to get pushback now. People are going to say, oh, Torres, you're living in the moment because you're at the game, and they just beat Kansas, and Kansas stinks, and whatever, and blah, blah, blah. What I would say to that is this. I truly believe, and this is being around this team over the last couple of days, I believe that this program is on an upward trajectory in college basketball. I believe they are a freaking rocket ship in college hoops right now. And I believe they are a team and a program that is going to have to be accounted for in college basketball going forward. Because the one thing about BYU that you can say, there's all sorts of programs all over the country that claim, oh, we do everything we can to support our athletes, to support our coaches, to do this, do that. Everybody says that. I can tell you, I'm on the road all the time. I'm in these facilities. I'm around these programs. I'm around these administrations. I can promise you, everybody says that. It is absolutely not the truth at most places. And being around BYU over the last couple of days, it is absolutely the case here. The basketball facility is amazing, and you could sit there and see that there's already, there's so many staff members, they're kind of running out of space in the basketball facility, but the facility is amazing. It seems like, now they're getting a new AD, but it seems like everybody is rowing in the same direction. They have a massive staff in terms of Kevin Young basically said, this is what I need, that's what I need, this is what I need, this is what we need to do, this is what we need to win at the highest level. So, they have everything from, strength and conditioning, nutrition, general man. Think about this. They basically have like that NBA-ish front office type setup. Who's behind them right now? Just about everybody. Remember, North Carolina, Hubert freaking Davis was saying just a few weeks ago, hey, we need to get ourselves a GM, we're behind. And so BYU has that infrastructure in place. By the way, we're going to talk more about the Marriott Center in a second. 17,000 people. The place is insane. I'm telling you. Listen, I've been to a lot of great arenas in college basketball. Fog Allen Fieldhouse is great. Bud Walton is great. McHale Center in Tucson's great. This is a place that when it is as loud and packed as it was tonight, I don't know how anybody wins in here. So great fan base, great support from the boosters. That's the other thing. NIL is changing with this rev share stuff, but you are going to have whatever support you need financially from boosters independent of the rev share that's going on in NIL. And so you have the coach in Kevin Young. And I think the other thing with Kevin Young, really two things. He's only going to get better as time goes on. I was thinking about this, and this is kind of crazy. Kevin Young did not get hired until April 16th of last year. Remember, we know the whole process. Enfield leaves USC for SMU. Musselman leaves Arkansas for USC. Calipari, remember, did not leave for Arkansas until early April. Then it was another week before Mark Pope got hired at BYU from BYU to Kentucky. Then it was another week after that Kevin Young got hired. So first-time college basketball head coach that didn't get hired till April 16th and basically did not have a roster until a month after the portal opened. So he really had to scramble to put together this roster. And now you look at it, and it's like, this what I just saw right there, what you all just watched on TV, that is a top 25 team in college basketball right now, okay? And so he basically put together a top 25 basketball team on the fly over the summer and figured it all out. And he's still getting better. He's still learning. And the one thing I'll say, you talk to people around him, he is one of the few guys coming from the NBA that gladly admits what he does not know. Sometimes you get these guys from the NBA, oh, I know it. I coach at the highest level. And we've seen the failures. And I hate to be a jerk, but here's the truth. Jerry Stackhouse didn't work at Vandy. Not John Thompson. Patrick Ewing didn't work at Georgetown. Chris Mullen didn't work at St. John's. And so I just bring it up because Kevin Young has come in and said, I don't know what I don't know, but I want to learn. He's adjusting on the fly. As I said, he's already changing how he's putting together lineups with the older players taking the place of the younger guys. I mentioned the scheduling thing. He told me point blank, he's like, I'll be honest, I didn't know what went into a schedule. And so next year, we're going to be that much better. We're going to be that much more prepared. We're going to make sure that we schedule better to make sure that we're in position so we don't have to be great in Big 12 play. And then, oh, by the way, don't ever forget this either. We all know they have the number one recruit in America coming in AJ DeBonsa. But again, I know everyone's going to say NIL, 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 NIL. But at the same time, to me, what stands out about the AJ DeBonsa commitment is he is coming into a place with an infrastructure to help him win right away. Again, resources, facilities, fan support, this, that, the other thing. And I would just come back and say this. If you don't think this staff is already trying to figure out, okay, what's the best way to use AJ, to build around him, to this, to that. And so again, they're not going to be a month behind in the transfer portal like they were a year ago. And so I just bring it up because, man, if you are a BYU fan, you have to be excited. I really feel it. And again, I'll tell you, just because this team has not done certain things, checked off certain boxes, doesn't mean it can't be done, right? And I think that's the big thing. They have everything they need. And I think they really feel like just because we've never played deep into the tournament, played into April, whatever, doesn't mean it can't be done. We're in the Big 12 now. It's the second best conference in college basketball, and we are more than competing. We're winning big games. We are in the Big 12. We have the resources. And Kevin Young said this on the show, by the way, if you remember when he joined us over the summer. He talked about, listen, what do we need to succeed? We're in a great conference. We have NIL, and we have the fan support that you need to succeed. And so I'm just telling you now. And this will be a great clip to play back in 2 or 3 years if it works out. If it doesn't work out, we'll just pretend it never happened. But 2 or 3 years from now, I think this is going to be a consistent top 25 team. I think they are going to be a problem in the Big 12 as long as Kevin Young is here. But what a night for BYU. Final score 91-57. Cannot believe what I just witnessed. Tell you what, a lot of people are commenting more about the Kansas side of things than the BYU side of things. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk the Kansas side of things, and then I'll wrap, maybe talk a little bit about that wild Pitino sound that we heard. And oh, by the way, I want to share my final thoughts on Provo. Also worth noting, we have a new sponsor, Fiobach and Fiobach.com. Cannot wait to tell you a little bit about them. Producer Matt, play the clip.
What's up, everybody? It's AT, and listen, long day of podcasting, sometimes don't always look the best. So look at this. It's a little bit not great, okay? Well, here is the great news. The great people at Fiobach said, Torres, you're a professional. You just got 50,000 subscribers on YouTube. You need to look better. And so they sent me a couple awesome things. I want to pull them out for you right now. This is all from the winter collection, by the way. Spring collection is coming out. We got the vest, very, very, very nice. The sweater, very professional for when I go to professional events. We got these nice blue jeans. I think the question now everybody's asking is, Torres, how do you actually look when you put that stuff on? Let's find out. Well, what do you think? Sweater fits perfectly. Great for all occasions. When I go to games, when I go out to a dinner, warm weather, cool weather, it's perfect. Speaking of perfect, these jeans are phenomenal. Great for games, great for social events. Oh, by the way, a little bit stretchy if those New Year's resolutions aren't going on as planned. Really quickly, we got to try out. Let's try out the vest. It fits perfectly. Not a surprise. So here's the deal. If you want to look as good as Torres, this is what I need you to do. I need you to go to Fiobach.com. That's F-I-O-B-O-C. Fiobach.com. And here's the best part. For listeners to the Aaron Torres pod, you get 20% off with code Torres20 at checkout. We've also put a referral link in all of our YouTube videos. Thank you to Fiobach. By the way, make sure you're following them on social media at F-I-O-B-O-C. Thank you to Fiobach. You want to look as good as Torres, check them out. Again, promo code Torres.
All right, everybody. Hi, back. Good to be back. So, listen, we talked a lot about BYU. And by the way, I'm going to wrap with some thoughts on Provo in a minute. But it's been an incredible week here. I'm so appreciative of everybody who kind of came up to me, said hello. We got some funny clips from the BYU pregame show, all of that. So if you're a BYU fan, make sure to stay tuned. It was a special night, and I hope you all enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed being here. With that said, though, there was somebody who did not enjoy being here on Wednesday night, Tuesday night, whatever night it is. I don't even know. My week's all jumbled up here. It was Kansas Jayhawks. So the Kansas Jayhawks, we just talked about the BYU side of things, but Kansas, how about this? It is the final score of 91-57. I believe if producer Matt has the stats below, I didn't have a chance to look it up, tied for the worst loss ever under Bill Self, 34 points. Kansas's fourth straight road loss, all to unranked teams. And so listen, bottom line is, let's just ask the question. Is Kansas basically dead as a program? And more importantly, did this trip to Utah maybe send Bill Self into retirement? Because it's kind of crazy, right? I was thinking about this. We did the What's Wrong with Kansas segment on Saturday after they lost to Utah, but it really is worth reiterating here. This is a team, and we talked about last year, there were a lot of injuries. You give them a little bit of a pass. This year, they reloaded. We all remember Bill Self famously saying at the podium after the loss to Gonzaga in the NCAA tournament last year, I started preparing for next season a month ago. This is next season, and it is somehow incredibly worse than it was a year ago. Kansas started the preseason number 1, They are now 17-9 overall, 8-7 in the Big 12. As producer Matt said, they've lost their last 4 games on the road, all to unranked teams. And this is just a debacle. And here's the crazy part. You know what the crazy part is? Kansas's schedule really doesn't get easier from here. Final 3 games of the season are against the 3 best teams in the Big 12 standings. Texas Tech at home, Houston on the road, Arizona at home. And so, listen, you're talking about a Kansas team that very realistically in a 20 game a Big 12 season now could very easily finish 500 in league play. By the way, I think getting swept by Houston is absolutely on the table. And you just look at a team that is reeling right now and everybody's trying to figure it out. And the crazy part is this. Last year, you could kind of blame it on injuries, right? Kevin McCullough was their star last year. He goes down middle of the year. It's a weird injury. Even Bill Self was kind of like, I don't know. He said he's coming back. Why isn't he coming back? This year, there's no excuses. This year, everybody's healthy. I mean, I know you've had injuries here and there, but it's not like star players are out for the year. And so the big question is, what is wrong with Kansas? And I'll be honest, I have some thoughts, and we talked about it a little bit on Sunday's show, but I think it's worth reiterating here because I kind of just think there are some obvious things that we just need to address. And what's funny is after the loss to Utah, again, we did this segment. By the way, this is why I thought the game would be competitive. I thought, and I said this to lead the show if you're just joining us, is that I actually thought we would get the best effort from Kansas, okay? I mentioned this. I talked to some people who know Bill Self over the last couple days, since the Utah loss on Saturday. They said he is as on edge about the way his team is performing right now as they have ever seen him since he's been a basketball coach. And why wouldn't they? Second straight year, his team is trending towards middle of the pack in the Big 12. Let's be honest, they're looking like a team that is not going to survive the first weekend of the NCAA tournament. The sad part is it's really a combination of a lot of things. One, they just have guys that aren't as good as we thought they were. AJ Storr was, in my opinion, the best player in the transfer portal. He came into tonight averaging 6 points per game. Rylan Griffin averaged 11 points on Alabama's Final Four team last year, left looking for a bigger role. He's averaging 6 for Kansas right now. But the sad part about tonight, one, I just think BYU is better. But two, Kansas kind of quit. Can we all acknowledge Kansas kind of quit? And so when I look at this Kansas team, listen, talking to people who know Bill Self, I think what has become apparent is this, okay? And we kind of joked on Sunday's show about Kansas had NIL before everybody else had NIL. But here's the truth. I don't know if Bill Self has he fully adjusted to this NIL era? And does he, I guess the right way to put it is does he have an understanding of how to build a championship team in this NIL era? Because you go back to Bill Self's best teams, and there were a lot of them, right? There were a lot of great teams that Bill Self coached at Kansas. I mean, a dozen Big 12 championships? I think it was 12, 13 regular season championships in a row. And what was the secret sauce there? It was guys that stayed in the program for 2, 3, 4, 5 years in that program. And so you look at this team right now, look at the team. I mean, I know DeJuan Harris and KJ Adams have been there forever, but think about everybody else. Hunter Dickinson, year 2. AJ Storr, year 1. Rylan Griffin, year 1. Zeke Mayo, year 1. And so it's no disrespect, but I just think it's two different things compounded in one. One, the longer you have players, the more you can get comfortable with them and they can get comfortable with you. Was talking to somebody this week that was like, listen, man, I covered those Devontae Graham teams. I covered those Frank Mason teams. And Bill Self was able to just do more things with guys that were in his program for 2, 3, 4 years. They could do more things with a Frank Mason when he was a senior as opposed to when he was a sophomore. Now, do you have those guys in your program? I know DeJuan Harris has been there, but besides him, you really haven't had guys year over year over year over year over year. And so one, I do think that there is that element. It's just you just can't do as much because the players aren't as familiar with you. Two, as importantly, do these guys understand what it means to play for Kansas, right? Because when you're at a place for 3 or 4 years, there really is a pride in wearing that jersey. And I know it's cliche and I know it's overstated and I know it's like, who really cares? But there is something to it, right? I mean, Frank Mason, Devontae Graham, it's the same with any school. You think Janai Broom's not going to come back to Auburn in 30 years and still have a pride in playing at Auburn? I saw that Cam Spencer played 1 year at UConn and was back there tonight for the game against Villanova. And so I just bring it up because I look at this Kansas thing and it's a bunch of dudes that just came in. They're all getting paid. I don't blame them. It's the NIL world. But is Bill Self really, is he building a team right now, or is he just accumulating talent? Because the one thing he always did was he built a team, and he built it through high school, and he built it through development. Now you look at this roster, and it's kind of just like, did they kind of look at a portal ranking, a 24/7, and ESPN, and Aaron Torres, whatever portal ranking, and say, well, this guy's good, well, that guy's good, let's just go buy them, and let's go put them on the roster and figure it out. And you look at their best teams, it was dudes that were there for 2, 3, 4 years. So that to me is the issue. And there's really two follow-up things about that. One, I don't think it's going to get better until they get back to who they are. And I don't, off the top of my head, I don't know what their roster situation is. Hunter Dickinson's obviously gone after this year. DeJuan Harris is gone after this year. It is worth noting, by the way, I think AJ Storr, some of those guys that have not performed, they're either going to have to take pay cuts or they're going to have to get the heck out. I mean, that's just the reality of college basketball. And so I know they're bringing in a good recruiting class coming in next year, headlined by Darren Peterson. But I think they really have to think a lot about putting together a roster and a team as opposed to a collection of talent. The other thing I'll say, listen, I saw a lot of people this weekend after the loss to Utah. Oh, Bill Self, is he going to retire? I don't think so, dude. I mean, I could be wrong. I mean, maybe he just doesn't want to deal with this anymore. But he does not, like, even tonight, he's yelling, he's screaming, he's clapping, he's jumping, he's ready to the problem is, and it was a little bit like UConn the last couple games, seems like he wants it more than the players. So I know there's going to be a lot of speculation about that. I know he's a little bit older. I don't think he's the next guy out the door. I think he likes coaching. I think he just hasn't figured out this NIL era. And I think the big thing is, I saw John Rothstein tweet something like this, something to the effect of, you have to have NIL to win, but NIL can't be the only reason that you win. And I do think there is something to that of, again, if you're just going to put a roster of a group of dudes, like, I don't really think that it's going to work out the way that you envision. So that's kind of my quick take on Kansas. I don't think they're going to, by the way, I don't think they're getting better. What are they? What did I say? 8-7 in the Big 12. Still have to go to Houston, Arizona, and Texas Tech at home. So what is that realistically? 11-9 in league play? I think they're like a 7 seed. I think they get knocked out early. I think that's just the real deal with all that. Producer Matt, before we switch over to Pitino, do we have any interesting questions or comments in the chat? By the way, I'm posted up here just kind of in a corner, so I'm trying to whatever. Let's see here. Peanut Posse. I apologize because I never say your name right, but he or she always brings great questions. He said, Kansas has a lot of expensive talent, but that doesn't make a team. My man, assuming you're a dude, you're 100% right. You're 100% right. I mean, there's nothing else to say other than what you just said. And that's exactly what their problem is right now. And listen, a guy that I try to defend, but he does this sometimes, John Calipari. That's kind of Cal's thing, right? Is he putting together a team or is he accumulating talent, right? I'll give you a perfect example. Look at the BYU team that was on the court tonight. I mentioned it earlier, but every piece complements every other piece. The kid Mawit Mag, who was awesome tonight, he's a wing defender that, yeah, he had like 13, 14 points tonight, but it's like, if he doesn't have any points, he's okay with it because he knows his role. Keba Keita knows his role. Richie Saunders knows his role. Yegor Demon knows his role. And I'm not saying that BYU has it all figured out and they're perfect. What I am saying is I think that they did a good job of putting together a team last offseason, and I don't think some other schools did. By the way, it's not only BYU. Kentucky, I thought, I know they're dealing with injuries right now. I thought Mark Pope did a great job of putting together a team, a collection of individuals that fit together as pieces. Iowa State, I think, does that really well. You know who else did it really well? St. John's. We're going to get to them in a minute. Let me know if there's any other interesting questions, producer man. I'm going to grab a swig of water here real quick. Roy Wall, who appears to be a BYU fan, thank you for joining us. Thank you for all the BYU fans that are in the chat. A lot of people commenting on Twitter. Roy Wall says, Kansas looks thin. How do you play that flat in an environment like that? Yet another team that is 3 deep. The Cougars ran them out of the building tonight onto U of A. So BYU plays at Arizona next. So that's a BYU fan. Roy, what I would say about your comment, one, they do look thin, but two, how do you play flat in an environment like that? Let's take it a step further. How do you play flat after you just lost to an unranked, not very good Utah team a few nights ago? Like, it's one thing if you're riding a 7-game win streak and this is BYU's biggest game of the year, and if they don't win this game, they're not going to the tournament. And I'm not saying that's what would have happened. I'm just saying it's one thing if that happens. It's another thing to not show up off of a loss to the stat that producer Matt keeps popping up, which is a great stat. They've now lost 4 straight road games, all to unranked teams. Like, what are you doing if you're Kansas? To completely no-show, 8-0, 22-7, 46-26 at the half. You lose by 34. That's a freaking embarrassment. And so I'm with you. I don't know how you don't show up ready to play. I think it was just an abomination. If you're a Kansas fan, you ought to be embarrassed and you ought to be frustrated because that was so disappointing. Any other ones? We can get out of here after this one. Woo! Optimist. You talk about being an optimist. He says, I think BYU will be in the Final Four next year in a perennial top 10 program. Very impressive. If you missed it earlier in the show, I talked about why I think BYU really is, in my opinion, building what I believe to be a top 10-ish type program. They have everything. Now it's on the staff to get it done. And the other thing is they have AJ DeBonsa, and I'm telling you, every single day they're thinking about how to best put that kid in position to have long-term success. All right, producer Matt, I'll tell you what, let's switch gears really quick. You know, Tuesday was kind of a quiet night in college hoops. By the way, BYU fans, I'm going to wrap just with some final thoughts on Provo. I thought it was an incredible experience. I think there's a lot of misconceptions about Provo. We'll get back to that in a minute. But Tuesday was kind of a quiet night. Monday was kind of interesting. Arizona gets a nice win. Duke wins again, whatever. But what I want to switch gears to now, do you see that guy over the quarter? When I talk about big Rick energy, how about Rick Pitino, okay? So St. John's has not played since the Sunday win at Madison Square Garden. And if you missed it, oh my goodness, what a statement when it was. Creighton, they were playing Creighton. St. John's was coming off the loss to Villanova. And what was interesting about that game is if St. John's lost that game, they were going to be tied in the standings with Creighton. Instead, they take care of business. They now have a 2-game lead with, I believe, 5 games to go in the regular season. And St. John's, to me, appears to be in very good position to win the Big East regular season title, which would be an incredible thing for year 2 in Rick Pitino's tenure, okay? So I bring it up because they're playing great basketball. They bounce back really nicely. But that's not really why we're talking Pitino today. We're talking Pitino for this reason. It is because over the course of the last couple of days, a wild, awesome, fantastic video has come out that lit up the internet, okay? So St. John's is part of a docu-series on Vice, okay? So Vice is running 2 college basketball series right now, one on St. John's, one on Arkansas. By the way, Torres pod was featured on the Arkansas one a few days ago. But I bring it up because St. John's has a clip on Vice has a show on Vice right now. And there was a clip that went crazy viral. And when you hear it, you will see why. Producer Matt, play Rick Pitino. I believe this was halftime. It was halftime of the Providence game. I can't remember. I don't know if they were up or they were down. But this was vintage Pitino. This was unbelievable.
Dig in and be a basketball player. Dig in. Every time you miss a shot, your game deflates. We don't care about your missed shots. Play defense. You guys keep blowing opportunity upon opportunity upon opportunity. You're like children with bad things happening. Instead of digging in and be tougher, you wilt. Where is your toughness? Where have you guys been raised that you're so weak mentally that you just give up when something doesn't go right for you? Don't you know what adversity is all about? That's the game of life, not the game of basketball. You don't get down when things go wrong. You dig in and get tougher. Your whole life.
Wow. First of all, let me say this. The line of where were you people raised that you were so soft? To me, that's like one of the top 5 lines in the history of the English language. Okay, if there's a better line anywhere, I don't know where it exists. I mean, that's going to be a meme upon meme upon meme upon meme. You know those memes you see on Instagram where it's like your boy's trying to rally you to get out at 11 p.m. That's what that's going to be. Where were you raised that you're so soft? Okay, that is going to be the meme. It's going to be the meme of 2025. I guarantee you that. By the way, make a great t-shirt. You can get your Big Rick Energy t-shirts at aarontorresonline.com/merchandise. But that was maybe my favorite thing that I have heard pretty much in forever. As a matter of fact, this is how fired up I am. It's 11 p.m. It's almost midnight Eastern. We're at the Marriott Center. Producer Matt, I got so much adrenaline going. Play that clip one more time because I freaking loved it.
Dig in and be a basketball player. Dig in. Every time you miss a shot, your game deflates. We don't care about your missed shots. Play defense. You guys keep blowing opportunity upon opportunity upon opportunity. You're like children with bad things happening. Instead of digging in and be tougher, you wilt. Where is your toughness? Where have you guys been raised that you're so weak mentally that you just give up when something doesn't go right for you? Don't you know what adversity is all about? That's the game of life, not the game of basketball. You don't get down when things go wrong. You dig in and get tougher. Your whole life.
Where were you raised? Okay, so listen, I love it. And what I would let me just kind of put a bow on it. And let me say this. The thing that I love about that, so I'm old school, okay? And I am of the belief of a couple things. One, I think it's okay to, first of all, I grew up in the Northeast. I grew up in Connecticut, so I was raised differently than other people. I respect how different people were raised, different whatever. Every single emotion where I grew up is expressed through 4-letter words, okay? Love, hate, anger, happiness, this, that. So a 4-letter word never bothers me. You know what else doesn't bother me? Adults being tough on young people, okay? And listen, I'm not here to tell anybody how to parent, how to this, how to do that, how to whatever. But at the same time, I do think there has been a lack of toughness in our society for a long time. And we're not going to do the societal thing about where are we and where are we going and all this and all that. But at the same time, what this shows to me is two things. Well, it really shows me three things. One, it's okay to yell and scream. It's okay to be tough. It's okay to be masculine. It's okay to be fearless and incite fear in other people. Fear can be an incredible motivator. It doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make you a big meanie. It doesn't make you a bully. Sometimes it's what you have to do to get your point across. Two, I think there is still a place for it in coaching. Now, I do think, and this is what makes Pitino great, is that what makes Pitino great, what makes Pitino different is that he is one of the few guys that can yell and scream like that, but he can also get the point across. And this is, to me, what makes Pitino so special as a coach. And I was telling our Torres on SJU guy, Torres on St. John's guy, the fact of the matter is Pitino, listen, this is another debate for another day. Pitino might be I think he's arguably the greatest college basketball coach ever, okay? And it's because he is great at everything. Some guys are great motivators. Coach K was known as a great motivator. John Calipari is known as a great recruiter. Some guys are known as great developers. Bill Self was known as that until this year. And some guys can do a little bit of it all. Rick Pitino is an elite evaluator. Doesn't have a bunch of McDonald's All-American one-and-done guys on his roster. He's a great developer. Look at how much better everybody gets. But he is a hell of a motivator as well. And I think what that rant shows me is that he's great at all of them, that you can raise your voice, that it is okay, and that players respond to it. And listen, again, I'm not a parent, I'm not a coach, but I spend enough time around them. And the one thing I will say, listen, everybody's got to be true to who they are. It's why I never get mad when Dan Hurley yells and screams. It's why I never get mad when somebody like Dusty May, I don't know, like Dusty May, soft-spoken, he's not going to yell, so because it's not who he is. By the way, I was at practice again with Kevin Young, BYU, the other day. Kevin Young's not a yeller and a screamer. He's a teacher. He's calm. He comes from the NBA. You yell at a guy in the NBA, you might get a ball or a fist thrown in your face, okay? But the point is, you have to be true to who you are, but players know who you truly are and know what the truth is. And so I solely bring that up because, to me, this is a reflection that players respond to all types of motivation if they know that you are in good faith, that you are going to make them better. And that is what this proves to me. Incredible clip. And it shows players are tougher than we give them credit for. Players, listen, are guys going to hit the portal from St. John's? Yeah, guys hit the portal from everywhere, okay? But at the same time, it does not change the fact that Pitino is an incredible coach, an incredible motivator, and I love that he brought masculinity back to the locker where he yelled and screamed and dropped some F-bombs and said, "Where were you people raised?" because this is unacceptable. Where were you people raised? It was unbelievable, but I love it. And coaches, don't be afraid to coach. Dan Hurley, don't be afraid to yell and scream. Dusty May, don't be afraid to teach. Be true to yourself. Be who you are, and that is who Rick Pitino is. All right. It's hard to go from a Rick Pitino commentary to talking a little bit about Provo. So, producer Matt, one more time, play our new advertisement from Feuerbach. We'll come back. I'll give final thoughts from Provo. An incredible week. And I think this city, I think this state is so misrepresented. I've loved being here. We'll take a quick break. Be right back.
What's up, everybody? It's AT, and listen, long day of podcasting, sometimes don't always look the best. So look at this. It's a little bit not great, okay? Well, here is the great news. The great people at Feuerbach said, Torres, you're a professional. You just got 50,000 subscribers on YouTube. You need to look better. And so they sent me a couple awesome things. I want to pull them out for you right now. This is all from the winter collection, by the way. Spring collection is coming out. We got the vest, very, very, very nice. The sweater, very professional for when I go to professional events. We got these nice blue jeans. I think the question now everybody's asking is, Torres, how do you actually look when you put that stuff on? Let's find out. Well, what do you think? Sweater fits perfectly. Great for all occasions. When I go to games, when I go out to a dinner, warm weather, cool weather, it's perfect. Speaking of perfect, these jeans are phenomenal. Great for games, great for social events. Oh, by the way, a little bit stretchy if those New Year's resolutions aren't going on as planned. Really quickly, we got to try out. Let's try out the vest. It fits perfectly, not a surprise. So here's the deal. If you want to look as good as Torres, this is what I need you to do. I need you to go to Feuerbach.com. That's F-I-O-B-O-C. Feuerbach.com. And here's the best part. For listeners to the Aaron Torres pod, you get 20% off with code Torres20 at checkout. We also put a referral link in all of our YouTube videos. Thank you to Feuerbach. By the way, make sure you're following them on social media at F-I-O-B-O-C. Thank you to Feuerbach. You want to look as good as Torres, check them out. Again, promo code Torres.
Thank you again to Feuerbach, our partners. I'll put a link, by the way, the referral link in the show description here in just a moment. Producer Matt, pop up that question we got in the chat. So PNB Posse says the question that everybody has been asking the last couple weeks is Rick Pitino has really gotten rolling at St. John's. He says, just imagine a world where Pitino never left Kentucky and is still coaching there now. I believe UK would be way past 11 banners, okay? So Kentucky fans, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe you have 8 right now, right? That's always the goal, get number 9. So you're talking about if Pitino had never left, having at least, well, he said way past 11. So we're talking a minimum of 4 because, Calipari and Tubby won 1 each. So what did they have? 6 when he left? So 7, 8, yeah. It's one of the great hypotheticals, and it might be a great offseason topic or something. I don't know. But, I mean, if you think about Rick Pitino at Kentucky, wins the title in 96. 97 makes the national championship game, and then 98 they win with his players. And I don't want to dismiss what Tubby Smith did, but that's as great of a 3-year run as anybody's ever had. And he was operating at the highest levels of college basketball. Now, listen, my personal theory always is going to be that high-achieving people are always striving for the next thing. And so I don't know that Rick Pitino was ever built to be a Coach K, and I'm not saying Coach K is obviously not high-achieving, but I don't know that Rick Pitino was ever built to be in a place for 40 years, for 30 years. You know, he said he didn't appreciate Kentucky when he was there, but it is a great hypothetical, man, and this is a team and this is a program that we are going to keep monitoring going forward because, man, oh, man, are they fun to watch. All right, really quickly, this is what I want to do. I do want to wrap with some closing thoughts here from Provo. For people just joining us, I am live here at the Marriott Center. I wish I could turn my computer so you could see the court as it's finally starting to empty out here about an hour after the final. BYU 91, Kansas 57. And so what I want to do is just spend a few minutes talking about the city of Provo, the BYU fan base, etc., because I've had an incredible week here. By the way, we do have our Torres on BYU account. Follow Torres on BYU. So I've had an incredible week here. And what I want to do, and I hope from BYU's fans' perspective, I don't offend anybody. But when I put out the tweet, so I for people who don't know, I grew up in Connecticut. I live in California now. I haven't spent a lot of time in Utah. I haven't been exposed to a lot of the things, you know, BYU, et cetera. And so when I put out that I was coming to this game, you know, I got a lot of commentary about, oh, Torres, don't get in too much trouble, or the bar scene this, or da-da-da-da, that. And, you know, I just want to take a few minutes to kind of just talk about the fact that, like, this place isn't what people think it is, and it is so much cooler and so much better and so much more fun than I think a lot of people realize if you have never been. First of all, let me say this. Marriott Center. Oh my goodness, what a great college basketball venue. At some point, we'll do my top 5, my top 10, my top whatever. It's in the short conversation. Listen, I think Allen Fieldhouse actually is in a class of itself. That place is unbelievable. But I've been to McHale Center. I've been to Bud Walton. I've been to Gamble Pavilion at UConn a million times. I've obviously been to the Carrier Dome, which is a great place to watch college basketball. This place is as fun as anybody. First of all, I'm looking around now. The place is freaking huge. I think it holds like 18,000. Used to be 23. Not a single seat in this building was open by the time we got to tip-off. And it was kind of crazy how quickly it filled up. 7 o'clock, midweek game, people coming from out of town, whatever. So the Marriott Center, absolutely incredible. Second thing, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk a little bit about the Cougar Tails, okay? So for people who don't know what Cougar Tails are, they are, I'll show you as a matter of fact, because I got it right here with me. So this is a Cougar Tail. So a Cougar Tail is it is like the thing that you have to eat if you go to a BYU game. It is a foot-long maple bar. As of right now, I've only had one bite. I could not believe, by the way, how many of these bad boys were being sold in this arena. But I did the BYU pregame show, so shout out to BYU TV, BYU Sports Nation, I believe the show is called, and Spencer, who was the host. Producer Matt, do we have the video? I don't know if it's going to come out great on podcast, so I apologize. But Spencer, do we have the video of Torres eating the Cougar Tail for the first time?
As part of the true BYU fan experience in any big game, we got to bring in fabulous Cougar Tail, which is an 18-inch maple bar donut. And I know I'm going to put some pressure on you, but they want you to take a bite of this and then give like immediate feedback as to what you think. So here we go. All right, I'm a little nervous. I can't even get it out. Pull it out of the box. Yeah, I'm so nervous. So here we go. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Okay, the bite is in the mouth. Okay. What do you think thus far?
I need some milk. That's like a 9-9 right there. That is really good.
Yeah.
Any milk?
We'll find some of that. I think we can accommodate.
So that was Torres eating his first Cougar Tail. It was really delicious for BYU fans. I apologize. I only got a bite or two down. Very sweet. I don't know if people eat them whole or they split them with their families, but it was unbelievable. But so the arena was incredible. The Cougar Tail was unbelievable. And let me just close by saying this. First of all, if you've never been to the area, beautiful area. So again, never really been to Utah. And I hadn't spent a lot of time in Utah. I'd driven through Utah when I moved to California. But the greater Provo area is just incredible. Mountains, snow-capped mountains. You know, it snowed a little bit last night. By the way, I got a drive to the airport at like 6 a.m. Eastern tomorrow, so I'm praying it's not going to be snowing on my way back to Salt Lake City. But beautiful area, beautiful, the people. Let me say this. I go to all these college towns. Everybody's so nice, but the people of Provo were unbelievable, okay? And I remember first SEC football game I ever went to was at Ole Miss. It was a million years ago. They played Vandy at Ole Miss. Not the best game, whatever, especially because Ole Miss wasn't good. But I remember when I went to that game, everybody in Mississippi was so nice. I think part of it was they really kind of wanted to, whatever perceptions. Let me even backtrack, okay? I don't really have any perceptions of anywhere. I don't judge anywhere for anywhere else. I travel all over. And the thing I find is that there are great people everywhere, great, traditions, great whatever. My wife and I went to Central America this summer, and it was just a completely different experience than taking a trip to Miami or to whatever, New York City or whatever. But you go, you respect traditions, you respect the people there. And one thing I'll say is everywhere you go, it's the same thing. And to go back to the Ole Miss thing is you went to Mississippi, and I think everybody kind of went out of their way to say, hey, dude, whatever you think about this place, it ain't exactly what you think. And what I would say is I had a great time in Mississippi. I had no preconceived notions coming in. I had no preconceived notions coming into BYU, and it exceeded all expectations. Since I know a lot of people are going to ask, and by the way, again, Cougar fans, I hope nobody's offended by me saying this. Yes, most places serve alcohol. I think there's a lot of misconceptions about what you can and cannot do. I went to Buffalo Wild Wings on Monday night, I guess it was, to watch the Arizona Baylor game. Got a couple drinks. Listen, it was a little different. Scanned the ID twice, gave me a wristband to sit at the bar, but served me a couple drinks, had a good time, ate some food, went home. So it's not what you think it is. And so if your team ever has a chance to come out here, come. The situation is beautiful. The people are amazing. Cougar tails are very good as well. And then also, and I think this is important as well, the things that you want to do at home, as long as you're, basically not doing anything too crazy, you can do pretty much anything here. You can eat whatever you want. You can find a cold beer if you want a cold beer. You can find a cold vodka soda if you want a vodka soda. You can take a shot of tequila if you want a shot of tequila. But it's an incredible community, incredible atmosphere. And I'll tell you what, I said it to lead the show. I think BYU basketball is here to stay. AJ DeBonce is coming in next year. I might have to take a return trip. All right, before we get out of here, first of all, let me make sure there's no more good questions. Any other interesting questions? Producer Matt? I think it's going to get out of here. Yeah, I think we can get out of here. People are arguing over Rick Pitino's marital status in the chat right now, so I think we'll get out of here. Listen, if you're not subscribed, please make sure you're subscribed to the Aaron Torres Pod YouTube channel. New clips, new videos going up every single day. So very much appreciate everybody's support of this show. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. We hit over 50,000 subscribers. Make sure you're subscribed on Apple, Spotify, etc. Also, make sure to rate and review. You want to do me a favor, give me a quick 5 stars. Really would appreciate that. By the way, we got a nice late crowd, too. It's disappointing that we're going off air now, but I think it is time for me to go. And one final time, I'll just say this. To the people of Provo, to the people of Utah. Lastly, by the way, to the BYU basketball staff. Cannot thank them enough for their hospitality. Everybody was just salt of the earth. Really great to me. I appreciate everybody having me. Time for me to go. Thank you again for listening. Shout out to Torrent Craig. Shout out to Rachel, who hates my voice. Shout out to JJ Reddick. You F-head, unblock me, bro. Appreciate all of you. We'll be back live. I don't know exactly when. Probably Thursday. I don't know if we'll do a live show.